Hey guys, quite often on this channel the comments under the videos end up being more interesting than the videos themselves because not a lot of effort goes into the videos on this channel, as you've probably noticed. But there's sort of more just a sort of throwing out stuff to sort of see what comes back sort of thing. So for that reason it's always interesting to see what people say. And that video about the weatherman or the road traffic update guy, whatever he was called, and he's ordering stuff from McDonald's video was a good example. So not a lot of time went into that, making that video, of course, bang bang, it was thrown together. So the comments that have come back have been interesting and thought-provoking. So just a couple of things. One is, of course, with all these things, everybody's entitled to their own opinions on it. Interesting, one group of people, as is always with those manipulation videos, there's always on every video there's always people who totally misinterpret what was said. They either totally misunderstand what was said or totally misinterpret what was said, and then come back and make comments that are just like, it's like they didn't even watch that video. You think, did you watch this video or another video? What's this comment come from? There's always a bunch of them where you read the comment and it's totally baffling. You know, one person was going on about conspiracies. You know, anything where you're saying it's a conspiracy? No, not saying it was a conspiracy. But that's one group of people that are just totally baffling. The next group of people are the people who see it and say, there's nothing, this isn't a trick, this isn't manipulative, this is just, so in other words, they believed that what actually happened was that the people in the studio threw over to the traffic report guy, and he just happened by chance to be in McDonald's, going through McDonald's, and it wasn't planned, it was just totally coincidence. And it just happened to be a McDonald's cushion on his backseat of his car, and none of that was planned. And you can see underneath that video, there's comments there from people sort of saying that it's just, no, it was just all natural. What's the problem? And it was very funny, and that's fine too. That's fine too, and that's why we make these videos about manipulation. So that goes to the next group of people. Is the people that are saying yes, it's manipulation, and there's nothing wrong with it. Okay. Now the reason that we make these videos about the manipulation and talk about the manipulation stuff is because of the first group of people. It's because there's that first group of people who are a really big group of people, probably the majority of people, who don't realise stuff like that as manipulation. And if the manipulation is done well, and big companies like Google and Coca-Cola and all those guys are really good at doing that, and there's examples of it all over YouTube, of the manipulation, and if they're good at doing it, the people who are being manipulated don't realise. So the majority of people maybe watched that video and thought, or watched it on TV and thought to themselves that it was all natural. Oh, how funny, he just happened to be going to McDonald's, they caught him going through the McDonald's drive-through, ha 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 ha, and they don't really think about it. And just to those people, the reason this manipulation works is Coca-Cola and McDonald's and all these guys, we know them, right? We know those companies. So why do they keep advertising and promoting themselves? Because they know that statistically, if they keep putting their name in front of us, that it increases their sales. So that having that guy driving through now, he would have paid, believe it or not, there's some connection between that TV station and McDonald's, probably some advertising campaign, and him going through and being at McDonald's like that and talking about the fish sandwich thing. One very switched on viewer, one of our viewers, pointed out that it's Lent in the US at the moment, which means that the people who can't eat meat might want to eat fish, and he was talking about the fish sandwich, which is pretty clever. And there's a whole bunch of people who would have watched that and gone, I feel like McDonald's now. Or later on in the day, or the next day, or something, fish sandwich, McDonald's comes to mind, and off they go. It's why Coca-Cola and McDonald's and everybody advertise. We know them, they don't really need to advertise, but they know if they put it in front. So, there's the manipulation thing. So let's get this guy talking that he's going through McDonald's drive-through, hey, hey, hey. So the first group of people don't think it's manipulation, they think it just happened to happen, that he just happened to be there by coincidence, going through McDonald's. He didn't happen to know that at exactly that time he was on air, and he didn't happen to realise that, and he forgot that he was going to be on live TV, and he just happened to be in McDonald's drive-thru. That's the first group of people. Second group of people, what's the problem? It's manipulation, yeah, we know that it's set up and staged, we know that all those people are acting and pretending. What's wrong with it? So it's just a matter of I think if we don't comment, if nobody comments when big companies manipulate us like that, you know, it gets worse and worse. It is getting worse and worse. You know, that subliminal, it used to be just straight out product placement where they just put a McDonald's cup in one corner or something. But now, I mean, that was all bullshit. They were deceiving us. That girl in the studio was pretending that they didn't know that was going to cross, and then that guy pretended that he didn't know it was coming, and oh, don't tell my boss. And you know, that's very deceptive shit. And the problem with this is, not only does it manipulate the people who don't know they're being manipulated, but this sort of stuff, when it's a news program, can lead to all sorts of problems. As far as, you know, there's a lot of countries where the law actually says that if it's advertising, it has to be labelled advertising. That if a television station is showing a program and it's being paid, that someone's paying that television, that TV channel to run that program, that they need to put advertisement on top, advertisement on the screen, so we know that, or even say this is a paid product advertisement. There's a lot of countries that have laws about that, and on TV that's the case, and in newspapers it's the case as well, where it has to say advertisement. And the reason is because they know that if, you know, someone like some TV station or particularly a news program has credibility with their viewers, that some viewers will just believe whatever they say. And that's a really slippery slope. You know, this time it was sort of just McDonald's, okay, no harm done, but it's a slippery slope, this sort of thing, that if they're allowed to do that and deceive people with that sort of deceptive advertising, hidden as not really advertising, well, they can do it with other stuff as well. And some other report they do on something that's really important for us might not be something that's really important for us at all. It might just be something that they're selling to us. So there's a big difference, you know. It has to be obvious that it's paid advertising, you know. That's why that's the case. So that's why we're calling it manipulation, you know. And again, look, if people don't think it's manipulation, that's fine. If people think it's manipulation and don't care, that's fine too. But this is just really putting our hands up. I think we need to do it. I really do. I think if people don't care, that's fine. But I think if you feel that this is not the right thing, that's a dangerous thing for society to have, where, you know, it can be hidden. And obviously a lot of societies think it is dangerous. That's why they have those laws, that they have to say it's advertising if it is. And if you think so too, then we should say it. We should say it on our Facebook pages, and we should say it in our videos, and we should stand up and say, hey, I know that's bullshit. Because, you know, TV, we're seeing more and more of it, and the internet is incredible now with the manipulation that goes on, you know, people being tricked into stuff, and, you know, things that are being disguised as news or being disguised as legitimate, and they're just a marketing ploy, clever marketing ploy. And I think we'll go through, if people stand up and say, we know that's bullshit, and we don't like that they won't do it as much, you know. And the only reason they're doing it at the moment is the majority of people don't give a shit, and it works. They know that shit works. I mean, that'd be worth paying 50 grand to that TV station to have them do that, or whatever it is that they do pay them. You know, who knows what they pay them to do that. So that was the first point. And again, I'm gonna keep making videos about the manipulation stuff because I think it's important. I think it's important to say bullshit. I see bullshit. You know, and that's deceptive shit too. Advertising itself is fine. Advertising is really important. Advertising is central to consumerism and to capitalism. And it's absolutely very important. I mean, it's advertising that allows YouTube to exist. It's advertising that, because advertising is central to the whole capitalist thing, you know, and the end result of that is that we get to have all sorts of good shit. So I totally support advertising. It's fine, no problem with it at all, as long as it's obvious that it's advertising. It's when they do shit like that that is so insulting to the viewer. That is so insulting to the viewer, to act out that little scene and pretend, and then we're seeing more and more of that, where they're acting out these little scenes like it's, like, you know, totally deceptive. Totally, that was all, that girl in the studio, that's why I was pretty insulting about those guys, is because they were really deceptive. They were really deceiving people with that shit. You know, and that's really bad, that's not right. That's not right. If it's advertising, say it's advertising. Switch over, hey, the next segment's brought to you by McDonald's, switch over and show McDonald's. You know, here he is at McDonald's buying his stuff from McDonald's, and just say that. It'll still get people in. People will still go, feel like a fish sandwich. They'll still do that. But this deceptiveness is the problem. That's the stuff I've got issue with. That's why you won't see me bitching about other advertising or other promotional stuff, because that's fine. You know, that's fine. It's important to our systems that we have that sort of stuff going on. It's the deceptive shit that I jump on. It's when they pretend that it's real and it's just all real, and in actual fact it's a paid promotional piece of bullshit, you know. So that was the first point. That was what triggered that video, was the manipulation. But the thing that really upset people was the comment about his English, because he said, "Can I get a fish sandwich? Can I get a fish sandwich?" And then, worse than that, he said, "Give me a." Now some people have said, some reasonable people have said, look, you know, where that guy lives, that's probably not considered rude. Okay, that's fine. And the people who live in the same area as that guy, if that's what they say, you know, that what he said there, "Give me a," if that's not considered rude in that place, then that's, you know, okay, that's cool. Totally understand that. And you know, a couple other people were ruder. Actually, a couple of people have been deleted and blocked, had their comments deleted and been blocked because of this, because one guy got really offensive and really abusive. And it happens, you know, it's interesting. I can make videos, and now, hang on, wait a minute, stop, wait a second. Okay, if I was sitting next to that guy in his car, in his city, right, and I'm sitting next to him in his car, and he went through McDonald's and he said that, of course I wouldn't say to him, "Hey, you're really rude." I might think it, just because of my own upbringing, I might think he's being rude by saying, "Give me a," but of course I wouldn't say it, because if it's in his town and he's saying it, well, that's his thing, isn't it? And of course, if I was sitting beside him, I wouldn't say to him, "Hey, you're really rude." Of course I wouldn't. But the difference is, and a few other people said that, "Oh, you know, that's what you shouldn't say, you know," and the rude guy one of the rude guys that got deleted and blocked was going about, "You have no right to make a comment." Well, the difference is that once this stuff goes on YouTube or on the internet, it's then on the world stage, right? And it's the same as with the Japan stuff. I would never say to a Japanese person, "Hey, you're really sick and twisted reading those little girl comics," because, you know, the guys here, the older guys here, like reading their comics with the little girls in school uniforms and stuff. And there's no way I'd give them shit about that, because this is their culture, this is their environment, that's what they want to do. That's fine. Of course I wouldn't say anything to a person here, you know, that's really sick and twisted, you sick fucker, you know. Of course I wouldn't. Of course. The same reason I wouldn't say to that guy, "That's a rude way to order your McDonald's." Of course, it's in their environment. But the problem is, as soon as this stuff goes on YouTube or on the internet, it's then on the world stage. You know, it's not the Alabama wide web, it's the World Wide Web. And as soon as stuff goes on the internet and is worldwide, then it's on the world stage, and then international standards apply. And that means then that people do have a right to you know, and look at the Japan channel. On the Japan channel we've got 2,000 videos, and people are quite comfortable leaving their comments on there, and quite judgmental comments often, and that's fair enough. You know, if we do a story and about them building new houses and knocking them down after 20 years, you get people from all different parts of the world who'll be saying, "That's a bit wasteful," and then other people saying, "Oh, maybe not," you know. But the people have judgment, won't they? They'll say, "That's pretty wasteful doing that," you know. And it's interesting. It's interesting. We can do that about Japan, and I've done it about Australia on this channel. I've made videos about Australia, racism and stuff, and people just sort of accept that you know, on the internet you can make judgments about other things and have opinions about other things. But for some strange reason, any time I make any video that happens to be about the States, now I didn't mention the States or anything, all it was about was that guy and that company and what they did. And McDonald's was an international company, and then I made a comment about what I considered to be that guy's language was rude, you know. And, you know, no mention of the country or anything, but any time anything happens to be in America, there's always this percentage of people that get really upset about it. And now some reasonable people just said, "Oh no, well, where he comes from, that's probably not considered rude." Totally reasonable comment to make, totally understandable, and I totally understand and agree with you that that's fair enough. If where he lives, that's an acceptable thing to say. Give me a beer, give me a fish sandwich. Why don't you go ahead and give me a? If that's perfectly acceptable, then of course that's fine. No argument with that. But some other people got really emotional and said, "You got no right." It's funny, the people, they feel they have a right to leave a comment on the video saying what they think. But if I make a comment about something else, you know, the point is people do have a right. In the same way that people have a right on our Japan videos to make comments and give opinions about the Japan stuff, you know, I think that manga stuff's pretty kinky shit, you know. I think that building a new house and knocking it down after 20 years is wasteful. I think whatever they think, I think that way of you know, not the individual's feelings not mattering and that everybody has to conform, I think that's bad. I mean, you read our comments on our videos. You know, very rarely would I make a video without getting some criticism or some negative sort of comment, negative sort of opinion on the topic, you know. And it's what happens, because on the internet we're on the World Wide Web and we're on the world international stage, you know. And at the same, while it might be okay in that guy's town to say give me a, the bottom line is if you get yourself on an international level, you know, and sit around a table, you know, you sit around a table somewhere having lunch with an English person and a French person and a Danish person and an Australian person and a New Zealand person, and sit there and say, hey, why don't you go ahead and give me a beer? You know, it might well be nice and polite where that guy comes from, but you do that, half the people at that table are going to be embarrassed. You know, because where a lot of us came from, saying give me a beer or why don't you go ahead and give me a fish sandwich, it's just rude, you know. And again, in his town that's fine, and on that local TV station that's fine as well. But as soon as this shit hits the internet, it's on the world stage. You know, and again, if people don't care about any of this shit, that's fine. And if people don't care what other people think of them, and I mean, unfortunately, you know, I know a lot of Americans who do consider that sort of way of talking to be rude, and there was a couple of people that commented underneath that video that considered it to be a bit rude too. But if people don't think that's rude, that's fine. But the point is, on the international stage, it's rude. You know, and I've done the reverse of this too. I've had Japanese friends that have been guys, you know, that have been going to Australia, and I've warned them about some stuff before they went. I've said, look, in Japan, it's normal for you to say to a guy, hey, your girlfriend is really cute, you know. But just, you know, when you go to Australia, don't do that, because if you go to Australia and say to some Australian guy, hey, your girlfriend is really cute, it could result in some discomfort, you know. It's the same. It's just like on an international basis, and you know, if you're looking at these things from an international perspective, which is what we're doing on the internet, you know, and you know, it's not like the old days. It's not like 150 years ago where only what people think in your town matters. You know, we're on the international stage now. So what we do, our behaviours and that sort of thing are judged from different perspectives now, you know. And you know, fair to say, I think most of the English-speaking world don't go about the place saying, give me a fish sandwich. It's not a real big deal. It's not a real big deal. But I think I didn't make it a real big deal. I just happened to mention that I think that guy's rude. You know, by the way, not only is he deceiving people, manipulating people with his behaviour and doing some bad acting, but he's also you know, pretty rude from an international level, from an international standard. You know, from this perspective, he's pretty rude, you know. So, unfortunately, we do hear this, you know. If you speak to people from Europe, quite often they'll say that European people often consider American people and Australian people to be sort of childish, because our cultures and our behaviours tend to be a bit sort of childish, like badly behaved teenagers. Why don't you give me a beer? Go ahead and give me a beer. So they do tend to see us as being sort of loud and obnoxious, you know. And those European people watching, feel free to tell us the truth about that, because I know this for a fact. I've got friends from Europe and they say just quietly, you know, that Americans and Australians and sometimes New Zealanders are seen as being sort of, you know, pretty juvenile in our behaviour. And that sort of stuff's a good example. You know, I wanna, go, why don't you go ahead and give me a... And because we all know that this is only a small percentage of people, but unfortunately when those people do that in the international stage, and you know, you come across them when you're travelling the world, different parts of the world, you'll hear them, you know. Why don't you go ahead and give me that big postcard over there, you know? It sort of stands out a bit. So, I think that was all of it. Was that all of it? There was the original topic was the manipulation. Well, you know, if you don't think it's manipulation, if you think it really was that guy was just going through the drive-through, well, that's fine. He just happened to not, he forgot that he was going to be on live television any moment. If you think that's the case, that's fine. If you know it's manipulation and you don't think it matters, well, that's fine too. But if you do see where I'm coming from on this, you know, please put your hand up when things, you know, you'll see it on Facebook, you see it all over the internet, you know, pretty well anywhere on the internet, you see it on TV. And I think we need to put our hands up. You know, we need to put hey, wait a minute, you know, that's bullshit. That's bullshit. There's a lot of it on YouTube. There's so much of it on YouTube, you know. I just tend to ignore it most of the time. But now and again, when I get a really blatant one like that, I just can't help myself. Often it's if I've got a bit of free time. Because, Jesus, if you made a video about every manipulative video on YouTube, you'd be busy, wouldn't you? You'd be making videos all day, every day. Because there's so many of them. The front page of YouTube, most of it's manipulation. It's the big companies that YouTube or Google has put on the front page of YouTube because they're paid advertisers. And then it's manipulative shit. You know, Google did one recently about some new place that they're building. And it's just this manipulative, painting these images, and it's just psychology. It's marketing psychology, getting inside people's heads and planting these images that are all bullshit. You know, Google's not all about touchy-feely improving the world. They're about making shitloads of money. That's what they're interested in. And all that other imagery, it's just such manipulative crap, you know. So anyway, there's that. But again, if you don't care, that's fine too. But those of you who do care, please say something. Please put your hand up. Please, you know, put a comment on Facebook when you see manipulative shit, and, you know, see a manipulative video on YouTube. Make a comment underneath it. This is manipulative shit, you know. Tell them. So there's that, and then there's the guy, well, the big guy. Look, I could see the funny side of that thing too. I could see what was funny about that sort of thing. But what spoiled it for me was the bullshit. Was the manipulative bullshit. You know, that was just, you know, the acting, the poor acting, trying to convince us that there was something going on that wasn't, you know. And then the manners thing, well, you know, international stage, guys. You know, people leave comments on our Japan videos all the time saying that, oh, Japanese, that's bad, Japanese people do that. No wonder they've got such high suicide rates. You know, there's always comments. And it's interesting too, our American friends, you know, are always the fastest to make judgments about all that sort of stuff. They're always the quickest to make the comments and the opinions. Now, this is generalisations. I know it's not everybody. But it's just interesting that American people are always comparing, oh, you never get that in America, you never get that in America, you get that all the time. But as soon as I touch on an American topic, you know, why? Never been called anti-Australian, made videos about Australian racism and made videos about Australian stuff, and made lots of videos criticising different parts of Japan or pointing out things about Japan that are pretty tough. Never been called anti-Japanese, never been called anti-Australian, but been called anti-American lots of times. Which is bullshit, because a lot of my best friends are American. I very rarely see foreigners in Japan, but a couple of people I do meet up with are American, and they're great people. One of my friends is an American ambassador to a European country. Went to school with him for forever, and we're really good friends. And you know, there's lots of good Americans in my life, and there's lots of the people that watch our videos, you know, that have been our best subscribers and really nice people, and you know, we interact all the time. And interesting, the things that I've commented on that have had me labelled as anti-American, my American friends have made the same comments on YouTube, so, you know, we won't have that, will we? And just one last thing, while we're on this too, the personal stuff, I did delete some comments and I did block some people just because it's too abusive. There's no need to be abusive. You know, read through the comments on the videos. There's lots of people who totally disagreed with what I said. And there always will be. I mean, there should be, shouldn't there? We don't all think the same. So there should be people disagreeing with what I say and having different opinions, of course. And if you read the comments under just about any of my videos on either channel, you'll see people disagreeing. That's fine too. But there's no need for the personal attacks. And if that gets too offensive, I just delete it and block it. I'm not going to fuck around with that. My friends don't talk to me like that. If my friends disagree with me, they'll say, hey man, I don't agree with you on that. I think that, you know, I totally disagree with that. Of course, and I listen to them. Same as with comments on videos, you know. But some random person I don't know getting on the comment section and being abusive, you know, with abusive insult, personal insult shit, I'm not going to take that. No more than I would if they did it to me face to face on the street, which they probably wouldn't, would they? Much safer from mummy's computer, isn't it? So I got no time for that shit. I'm intolerant. And if there's no emotion, I get called, oh, you get too emotional, you get too sensitive. No, just intolerant. It's my reaction, seriously, I've been called this before, people going as if it's all emotional. Do you know what it looks like is this? I'll be sitting there on the computer and I read through the comments, 500 comments a day at least I read on both channels. And I'll sit there and scan through the comments, scan through the comments, scan through the comments. And sometimes I get really rude comment and I'll only read half of it, just the you're an asshole Aussie fucking, and delete, block. Okay, next. That's the reaction. There's no getting emotional, there's no oversensitive, there's no nothing. It's intolerance. It's intolerance because why sit there and read some big long abusive piece of shit from someone I don't even know? You know, GN578 or something. Well, who the fuck? Well, I don't care. Who's that? There's 1 million views a month on YouTube, just 1 billion or whatever it is. You know, why waste time on that shit? You know, but the other people who have different opinions, that's fine. But no, the personal attacks and the insults and all that crap, why waste time on that? Life's too short. Delete, block, next. And because you know if they've done it once, they'll do it again. So why put up with that crap? Occasionally a person will get a second chance. You know, I might leave a comment and go, oh, fuck you. But, you know, if they do it again, well, sometimes it depends, you know. Oh, fuck it, delete, block. I'm going to waste time on it. Why waste time? Life's too short. Airplanes to fly and places to see and things to do, you know. Anyway, time. That's enough. Your turn. Over to you. Over. More videos coming soon.